Hi there, it's Mr. Clark. Welcome to lesson 2.4.2 on minor scales. We looked at major scales previously. There's just one form of the major scale, everyone agrees, everything's hunky-dory. When we look at the minor scale, there are traditionally three different recognized forms of the minor scale. So we're going to take a look at them, and then I'll talk a little bit about why I think that's a little bit silly. But that said, these are generally understood to be three distinct forms of the minor scale, and if you want to communicate with other musicians, it's important for you to understand what's going on. So, first we're going to look at the natural minor scale. It has the same pattern of whole and half steps as the major scale. So, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. That's a major scale. If you start on scale degree 6 instead, you get whole, half, whole, half, whole. Whole, half, whole. I'm sorry, I got lost. Whole, half, whole, half. Yeah, whole. So if you started on scale degree 6 and went up 6 F 1 2 fleet. I'm sorry. 6 F 1 2 3 4 5 6. Then that would be sounding the same as the natural minor scale. For the purposes of what we're doing in this class, we don't start on 6 though. We call the first scale degree 1 because that's what sounds like home. So here's a D major scale. If D is 1, then B is 6. So using the same key signature as D major, but starting on B, you get this. Another way to think about it is start with a D major scale. I'm sorry, before I move on, I just want to specify that thinking about it this way is B minor is the relative minor of D major because it uses the same pitches, just starting on a different note. They're relatives. They're very similar. The other kind is known as parallel major or minor, and that's starting on the same note. D major is parallel to D minor is parallel to D major. I don't know why it's called parallel. In geometry, two lines that are parallel never meet, but these have a lot of intersecting notes. I don't know why it's called parallel. It is. Also, that's how you spell parallel. Parallel. For some reason. Well, I mean, it's a weird word. Just be aware, that's how it's spelled. Anyway, parallel major minor. Start on the same note, but add some different accidentals on notes to create the same pattern of whole and half steps. So it's the same pattern, whole, half, whole, half, whole. There we go. So here's D major again. And now we've lowered the third, sixth, and seventh scale degrees by one half step, and we get this. So now you'll notice you have one flat in this scale. What major scale is one flat? Oh yeah, F. And does that check out? If F is 1, then E is 7, then D is 6. Yeah, that works out. So these are just two different ways of thinking about the exact same thing. And again, I want to specify, even though we've said 1, 2, flee, 4, 5, flicks, flap, 1. I'm just putting the fl on the front of these syllables to indicate that it's flat 3, flat 6, flat 7. I'm putting these flats in air quotes. Well, just one air quote. I don't know why I wasn't using my other hand. Air quotes. Because it's not necessarily a literal flat. Here it is. B goes down to B flat for flicks, but here C sharp goes down to C natural for flev. So it's just lowering a half step, whatever that means. So here's an example of a tune that exclusively uses the natural minor scale. God rest ye God rest ye merry gentlemen. One moment. I played it correctly, but this note is notated incorrectly at the moment. This should be a G. I will fix that by the time you see the textbook. Okay, so we've talked about natural minor scale. Here's the harmonic minor scale. The only difference here's B natural minor. The only difference is that instead of flev, we use sev. So here's the natural minor scale. I didn't play that right. One more time. Here's the harmonic minor scale. That's funky. Cool. So if you're using a minor key signature, which we'll talk about in a little bit, in the next lesson, I think, then you'll need to add an accidental on 7. In keys with 5, 6, or 7 sharps, this means that you'll need to raise it by a half step, but it's already sharp, so that's why you would need a double sharp. So here, in the case of G sharp harmonic minor, flev would be F sharp, so sev is F double sharp. There you go. And the way that we get a harmonic minor scale is by combining our 1 chord, our 4 chord, and our 5-7 chord. And if you take all of those notes and put them in the order of a scale, that's how you get your harmonic minor scale. So you may have heard as I was playing it, but that interval between flicks and sev is pretty funky. It's what is known as an augmented second, or 3 half steps. We will worry about that, what that means exactly in the next unit. But when you're writing a melody and you decide for some reason to use harmonic minor, you usually avoid that interval somehow. Like B flat doesn't go directly to C sharp up here, instead it skips down an octave. My keyboard ran out. Downsides to using a phone app. But everything's fine. The last form of minor scale, we've looked at natural first, then we looked at harmonic, now we're looking at the melodic minor scale. This is the most common form to use when you're writing a melody. Unusually, it has different ascending and descending forms. When you're going up, you have flee, but then regular 6 and sev. And going down, you have flev, flicks, and flee. So going down is exactly the same as a natural minor scale. Going up, you raise both 6 and 7 by a half step from the key signature. So the reason that we like this is that going from sev 1 is a strong motion. That half step resolution, like if you just went, oh, that feels so unsatisfying. It wants to go back to 1. But having the flicks to sev to 1, flicks to sev, that augmented second is hard to sing, really draws your ear in the general context of minor, so that's why we raise 6 as well, so that you avoid that augmented second. But going down, having 1 for flicks 5, that flicks to 5, flicks to 5 is another powerful half-step resolution, so we want to keep that in, so that's why it changes on the way down. So here's the tune Autumn Leaves, and we're in E minor, yep. Sorry. That's not what I want. What am I doing? It's harder on this tiny keyboard. Here we have flick, flev, 1, 5, 6, sev, 1. So it uses both flicks and flev, and then 5, 6, sev, 1 when it wants a stronger resolution here. So having this system of 3 different minor scales can get confusing pretty quickly. And I don't find it super useful. It's rare that someone will be like, I'm using exclusively the natural minor scale for this piece, or I'm using exclusively the harmonic minor scale. Usually you'll see some combination. So this is what I think of as the minor scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you can choose flicks and or 6. You can choose flev and or sev, and then 1. You can't play this scale on like a clarinet or some monophonic instrument where you can only play one note at a time, so that's perhaps another reason why people split it into multiple forms, but this is much closer to the reality of how composers use the minor mode. So, I'm just going to move my keyboard over. So this is from Fugue by Clara Schumann. I'll just play the left hand for right now. Here's starts with, actually I'll give you a key first. We're in G minor, so there's Sev, Flev, 6, Sev, Sev, I played the wrong note, right here, Sev, 6, 6, Flev, 1. So here, there's no scale that uses, none of the three forms of the minor scale uses both natural 6 and flat sev. But when you consider it as just one master minor scale, you can get combinations like that. So that's what's going on here. I know this was a longer video, I apologize for that, but there's a lot of material to cover. We looked at the natural minor scale, the harmonic minor scale, and the melodic minor scale. I will see you next time.